I started learning Japanese in Poland back in 1979. That was my first encounter with Kanji, those complex characters that seemed more like art than language. After that, I went to Japan in 1981, and I wound up becoming a Japanese citizen, and I have lived there for 44 years, most of my life. The first few years there, I studied Chinese literature in graduate school at Kyushu University. I've now used Japanese and Chinese daily for over 44 years, reading, writing, teaching management, and even thinking in them when I studied Korean and Vietnamese. And here's what I've come to realize. One of the first things I noticed, especially as an adult learner, is how much visual memory matters. To write even a basic sentence in Japanese or Chinese, you need to remember complex stroke patterns, radicals, and their correct spatial arrangement. It's like memorizing tiny puzzles. Each character is a shape, not just a sound. You're not only reading, you're visually decoding. Over time, I realized that this kind of learning wasn't just about language. It was training my visual brain. Studies show that logographic readers, such as characters, develop stronger visual, spatial reasoning, and even engage the right hemisphere of the brain more than readers of alphabetic scripts. Even when writing something basic as path or road, as seen in this character, you need to recall the radical, the stroke order, and the spatial proportion. That's why research shows that people reading these characters activate their left middle frontal gyrus, linked to visual orthographic processing or writing, much more than alphabetic readers. This process strengthens long-term memory, especially visual memory. And I've seen this not just in studies, but in how my students remember concepts through images more than words. So unlike alphabets, Japanese kanji or Chinese Hanzi connect directly to meaning. You don't spell out the sounds, you recognize the idea. Take this character, which combines the sun and the moon, symbolizing such things as brightness, its meaning before phonetics. Or look at this character, which in general means peace, but can be used to have other meanings, such as inexpensive, is composed of two parts, a roof and a woman. There's a story encoded in the structure. Reading kanji or Hanzi doesn't just involve decoding sounds. It connects directly to semantics, the meaning itself. That's why studies show broader brain activation, especially in areas tied to visual and semantic processing. This made a huge difference in how I approached reading. Instead of sounding out syllables, I learned to scan for concepts. That's a different type of literacy, and it changes how fast and deeply you read. And characters are time capsules. The radicals inside them reflect how people once saw the world. This character means home. It's a pig under a roof in an agrarian society. That's the image of domestic stability. Studying Chinese classics at Kyushu University opened my eyes to this semantic layering. The more I read, the more I realized you're not just reading what's written, you're reading what a civilization believed in terms of perspective and values. This semantic richness deepens the bond between language and thought. It's a very different experience than reading an alphabet. You don't just read meaning, you see it. Okay, yes, it's complex and it takes time. These logographic systems aren't easy. Literacy takes longer to acquire than when using an alphabet. But this difficulty is precisely what builds depth. Think of it like mental resistance training. The challenge of mastering characters makes your brain work harder, so the reward is longer lasting. One of the biggest long-term effects I've noticed is how these writing systems made me more resilient in learning other languages. Why? Because they sharpen your ability to spot visual and semantic patterns. In particular, when I later learned Korean and Vietnamese, which also share Sino-vocabulary along with Japanese, the knowledge of these characters and their meanings helped me learn these languages much faster. Even in unrelated languages, I find myself breaking down complex structures more easily. So after 4 decades of living with Japanese Kanji and Chinese Hanzi, I can say this: they're not just writing systems, they're cognitive tools. They stretch your brain, deepen your thinking, and make you more aware of language as a system of ideas. So if you're learning Chinese or Japanese and you feel overwhelmed by all these characters, don't worry. Every stroke you remember is reshaping how your brain works and how you understand the world. And if you are interested in knowing more about my linguistic and cultural journey through more than 30 languages and 101 countries as of today, then please take a look at my website, polyglotdreams.com. There you'll find my life story filled with adventures from the depths of the Amazon to the heights of the Himalayas. In my memoir, A Life in 30 Languages, I also share insights in how it is possible to deal with so many languages and cultures. The book is also available in numerous languages and dual language editions, as well as language learning sets that include audio editions that can greatly increase your listening comprehension and general language study. Thank you for listening, and see you in the next video.